Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of the UK League Chat podcast. Gonna go ahead with some more predictions today like I did last week. So coming up we've got week 5 of the UKLC. Properly into it now. I think we've got a good idea now of how good the teams are. No longer, can't really use the excuse of kind of teams, still getting used to each other and that now. None of that. Bad teams are bad by now, good teams are good. So let's see what I'm going to think for this week's game. So the first game we've got kicking off on Wednesday is Excel against Barrage. I think this can only go one way. I don't think there's anyone other than maybe people in the Barrage camp that would disagree on this one. Should really be Excel. Excel still looking good. Sendo and Tax are still looking good. Those have probably been their biggest, not really overperformers, but the most improved players, especially since spring. Was quite funny that we found out Exile actually does still exist in Excel's team. I hadn't even really thought that he might have left until me and Tom Daniels were doing our tier list a few episodes ago, and I kind of mentioned that Exile had 3 mid laners, and I think even Tom had the impression that Exile was gone. And I'm pretty sure I even saw recently they did like a team dinner or something like that. They put a picture up on Twitter and he wasn't there. So when I saw that I thought, oh well, he must be gone. Apparently not. Somehow he came back and he played last week. And Excel obviously did fairly well again last week. Only team that looks like they can really challenge them is Fnatic. So I think, spoilers for the rest of the episode, but it's going to be Excel Fnatic in the final again, I think. I'm basically just going to say that every week. So yeah, they should definitely win. Looking at Barrage though, obviously they've still not won yet, and it's not looking good, is it? So last week they played against Envision. That really was the chance to get their first win, and I spoke about it last week about how important that was for both teams. And really, that match was a mess. I'm pretty sure if it's the one I'm thinking of, it was just long, bloody. It was no real. Didn't look like there was much tactical prowess in that match. It was just kill after kill after kill, and eventually one of the teams won. Now, what I will say is that obviously meant it could have easily gone in Barrage's favour, so they could be the ones sitting here with their first win. But even if they did, it's not something to be too confident about that kind of win anyway, I don't think. So that was even a game where I thought the draft looked pretty good in that match. I thought their lanes looked decent. They had top, they had Jace against Malphite, and mid they had Azir versus Karma, which I thought looked like decent matchups, and that showed. I think they were, at least lane wise, it looked like they were winning early on. But then just they don't look very coordinated. There was some ganks top that they tried and messed up, and they were giving Brillia was on Malphite. They were giving him kills. He ended up backdooring to actually win the game. But again, that kind of loss, in a way, maybe not something to lose too much confidence over, because it could have easily gone either way. But then those were the two teams that haven't looked that good yet. And yeah, I don't think even for Envision that was a great win looking at that match. But we'll get on to Envision. Anyway, in this match, yeah, Barrage not really shown me anything to be too excited over, so I don't think they should give much of a fight to Excel really. One thing I think some teams did say coming in, some people did say coming into the summer, just based on the rosters, was that Barrage did look maybe a bit top heavy, and their bot lane was where they had kind of the most questions really, and we have now seen their bot lane completely changed. They've got Fax and Reclamation coming in, and they did actually get first blood in that match against Envision in a 2v2. So maybe that's something to go on from Barrage. That's one place that I guess even their coaches obviously thought was pretty weak, and that's why they've replaced them. And at least in the lane, they were doing something. So yes, maybe if we're looking for a positive sign, then maybe we could say that. But otherwise, yeah, should be XLs all day, that one. Okay, then game 2, we've got Phelan against Enclave. Both of these teams, I think, on a win each so far. Now, Phelan last week lost to Demise. I think that's a game they should have probably lost. Demise do look stronger so far. But in saying that, I actually I thought Phelan looked pretty good against Demise. Pretty sure they were winning for a decent chunk of the game. I thought they sort of moved around the map as a unit really well. They seemed like everyone was on the same page in that sense. And then there was just one point mid where I think it was Zizzle. I think he was playing Karma, and he just overstepped mid, got caught. They lost the fight, and basically from there it looked like it had things sort of swung in the way of Demise. So I think if they kept their heads, maybe that could be a game that they could have even won. And like I say, for a lot of that game, I thought they looked pretty good, especially the way they did kind of move around the map and rotating around looked very decent. So I'm going to go for Phelan on this one, even though Phelan did lose last week, and Enclave actually got their first win last week against Dabalus, which was against my predictions, annoyingly. So yeah, Enclave, they got the first win. Dabalus have looked pretty good so far, so that's a decent win for them. And then after that they lost to Fnatic, which is, what can you do? Fnatic are the best team, so can't really fault them for that. But that game was pretty close as well, so they could have fairly easily lost that game to Dabalus. And this is kind of why I think Phelan are going to win, is just because even though they do have a win each, I think that from the play, Phelan have looked better to me. And Enclave's win was, I thought, a bit of a coin flip. I think it could have easily gone the other way. But in saying that, a couple of good performers. Scood was really good, I think, on Silas last week, and Rengis on Aatrox was going crazy. He had a really good game. So yeah, I mean, this one should be fairly close. I think a lot closer than the XL Barrage match, but I would give it to Phelan from not so much from the wins. Obviously, they're both on a win each, but I think from performances, I would go for Phelan. So yeah, that one, a bit of a closer one, could maybe go either way. I'm going to give it to Phelan. Okay, then game 3, we've got Dabalus and Envision. Obviously, Dabalus didn't have a good week last week. As we just said, they did lose to Enclave. Dragdar did have a really good game. His Lucian was really clean. Forget his score, but he had a bunch of kills. And as the ADC, that's all you can do, really, isn't it? So yeah, they're against Envision. Envision obviously still without. With one win now, but Dabalus should win that. They'll be, I think, favourites for most people, to be honest. And even against that game against Enclave, like I said when we're talking about Enclave, that game could have easily gone either way. I think Dabalus were ahead for a large part of that game as well. So that game, yeah, could have easily gone either way. And just in general, Dabalus have looked pretty strong in the previous weeks as well. So I don't think there's really too much to say about that one. I think that should be clearly Dabalus. I'd be very surprised if anyone thought otherwise. And yeah, Envision as well haven't shown us too much to be excited about so far, other than that win against Barrage. But anyway, that win was, I don't think, too clean, so doesn't fill you with too much confidence either. Okay, then game 4, we've got Demise against M&M. I said it before, but I'm really enjoying watching Demise. They've probably been the biggest surprise package so far. And one thing I did say last week was that I thought their wins so far had been kind of through cheese picks, it looked like. And I did question whether they would maybe struggle playing more regular stuff, whether they could only win with cheese. But last week they had some more normal games, I think. They actually got pretty far last week. I think they even got to the final, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, that's obviously really good. Denvoxney and Vigo, I think, are probably the standout guys for them so far last week, especially the match against Phelan. They were just ridiculous. No deaths between them. I think Denvoxney was 8-0, Vigo was 0-0-11, and with their Zyrakan, they do look really good together. Even in Forge of Champions, they look like a great pairing. So if they've got any chance of beating M&M, so yeah, I do think M&M will win in this match. But if they've got any chance, Denvoxney and Vigo probably will play a big part in that. If they do manage to take it. And actually, I wouldn't be too surprised if they beat M&M either. I think this one should be pretty close. So I don't think this is like a clear win for M&M by any means. And yeah, they did demise. They ended up losing to Fnatic anyway. So another one where you can't really fault them for going out at that stage. Yeah, like I say, the bot lane did pop off against Phelan. They went against Envision then in the semi-final, and that was just a clear difference in ability, to be honest. They just pretty much smashed Envision. Didn't really look like too much of a fight. So yeah, I mean, Demise are continuing to impress me then. So like I said, I did question whether they could do it without cheese picks, and obviously they can. They got 2 wins last week without it. So that was good on that in that regard. And I think this should be a good match. I think it should be pretty close. M&M obviously have been pretty much cemented as the 3rd place so far. But then if Demise are looking to improve on, I think they're joint 4th at the moment with Diabolus. If they're looking to improve on that, M&M is the next target really. So this will be a game where they'll definitely have a point to prove. I think given that could help their performance. Could maybe go the other way. Maybe there'd be a bit of pressure that they've got to be aiming to beat M&M. Maybe that could get to their heads. Who knows? But yeah, if anything, I think it should be good motivation for them. And then going to M&M, obviously they didn't have a good week, but they were the unlucky ones to get Fnatic in the first round. So you can't really fault them for that. I did say in my predictions last week, they were basically had to either play Fnatic or Excel, and realistically, both of those teams should have beaten M&M. So just a bit unlucky really with the draw. So there's not really too much you can fault them for in that match. One thing I would say, I thought only Angel struggled a bit that game, but then again, this is against the best team in the league, pretty much hands down. So you can't really, I don't think you can penalise any player too much, unless they were literally walking it down, which no one really was. So just a bit unlucky on the draw. But yeah, I think they should still beat Demise. I think it will be close. I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if Demise do get that one. But either way, yeah, I think it should be a good game. I think it's a fitting to have on game 4 on the Wednesday, because I think this should be the best game out of all of them. This should be the two, not only the most even, well, a couple of the most evenly matched teams, but then out of the kind of close games, these should be the best quality of game, I think. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Now that's it for the games that I can confidently predict, because those are the only games that are actually set in stone. If we go on to the day 2 for Thursday's games, this is only going to be of any relevance if the rest of my predictions are right, so we can take this with a grain of salt. But what we should have, if I'm right, for our first semi-final is Excel against Phelan. I think that's a pretty obvious one. Excel would win. I don't think anyone else would probably disagree with that. Then we'd have, again, if I'm right, on day 1, we would then have Diabolus against M&M for the second semi-final. I would say M&M for that. Kind of the easy choice, kind of a bit of a cop-out really, because they are ahead of me in the table. So there's not really too much else to say. Without seeing how they perform on day 1, it's kind of hard to say, to drill into it too much, but they should probably win that. That would put a final of Excel against M&M. Do I need to say it? Obviously, I'd say Excel again. This until we see a Tower Challenge final that's not Excel Fnatic. Basically, every week I'm going to predict that it's just Excel Fnatic in the final. So brace yourselves for that. But yeah, so the final would be Excel M&M, I think, and then Excel would win. That would put Excel against Fnatic, and again, I think Fnatic will hold it. Excel and Fnatic are obviously the 2 top teams at the moment. They are, I think, by a decent way ahead at the top in points-wise. But it does still look like Fnatic are the team that are slightly first, so just a slight bit ahead of Excel. It doesn't help, like I said before, that Excel, their academy roster really does depend on how their first team is doing, which Fnatic doesn't. Fnatic's LEC roster is pretty much set in stone, other than obviously they've lost Dan now, and they played about with Magic Phoenix last week, and Ronaldo came in and did a decent job as well. So it doesn't look like the few changes that Fnatic might have doesn't look like that's really going to affect them. Whereas Excel, they have been quite consistent with If we're looking at their LEC scores, they've just had their best week. They've had their first 2-0 week, and that's with Jeskler and Mystiques. And I did say before that I'd question whether they would keep playing in the LEC, because you can't imagine they got Hyanan and Kasing to sit and play in the UK. Let's be honest. They wanted that to be the pairing in the LEC. They thought that was going to get the best out of Kasing, pairing out with Hyanan, and so far they've only really done anything in the UKLC as the pair. And without them in the LEC, the LEC team has been doing better and are getting some wins. Like I said, they've got their first 2-0 week this last weekend. So it's a bit of a tricky one, really, as to whether they'll keep up their form. Because like I said, I think they are more likely to chop and change. So they are, I think that's the thing that maybe puts them a bit behind Fnatic. Also the fact that where they are playing Hyanan and Kasing, you could argue maybe they're not going to be taking it as seriously. Well, I don't know. You could argue that, but then in saying that, Hyanan's been probably one of the better players for the for XL UK, so he's probably been playing alright. Actually, I don't know. It's a bit of a tricky one. Maybe if you could say if Jeskler and Mystiques did get dropped down at any point, then that may be a bit of a confidence blow. They could play worse. So I think as long as XL don't change too much, then their UK team should start to challenge Fnatic a bit more. Well, they've had the challenge anyway, so they have challenged them a bit. But yeah, I think Fnatic still are clearly number one. XL a close second, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see if that changes based on the kind of roster swaps and things. That's more or less it really for the predictions. Other things going on, we've got, literally as I'm recording this, we've got the UKEL kicking off. Now I might see about, could maybe do an episode or two on that as well. Not to jinx it, but we've had one UKEL coach as a maybe to come on the show, so we'll see. Might do an episode on that maybe in the next couple of weeks. And just on the UKEL in general, pretty excited to see it. Well, saying that, obviously I'm not watching it right now, but definitely worth following, I think, at least to see, you know, what it's designed for, the up and coming UK talent. So I think it's obviously can only be a good thing really, to give another platform for these people to play that didn't get a team. As we know, the UK it's not the biggest region. There's only 9 teams, which isn't huge really, and obviously a couple of those are the academy, LEC academies, so they can kind of get away with having a few foreigners as well, nicking our UKLC spots. So yeah, it should be good, the UKEL. And what I was really impressed by as well, the fact that they've gone and got a proper sponsorship with MSI as well. I really wasn't expecting that, seeing as it looks so just a few people kind of set it up. I think it's from Darkspawn, a few of those guys set it up, and it looked like it was just going to be a bit of a small thing, but then they come out, and even just from when they first announced it, I thought the branding and everything looked pretty clean. It looked like they've spent a serious bit of time and effort into it, and then yeah, when to come out with MSI as a sponsor as well, I was really impressed. It looks like they are taking this seriously, so it would be interesting to see how it goes, how the viewership is. Obviously, sponsor wise will depend a fair bit on that, I should imagine. I did see the first game had more than a couple hundred viewers, which I was pretty surprised by. Even the Twitter account's got, I think it was only a few hundred followers, so for there to be 200 viewers, I was really impressed. I'm not sure if it was hosted by anyone or something like that, maybe. But yeah, I was really impressed by that, because if you think when the UKLC has games that when they don't get on the Twitch front page, because I'm fairly certain they're on the Twitch front page a lot, which is when they get a couple of thousand viewers, but when they're not there, they sit around the hundreds as well, usually sort of 400 or 500. So to have about half the viewership of the UKLC, I think is really impressive, especially for the first week as well. So yeah, it should be exciting to see how that goes. See if some new talent is discovered. A fair bit of it, well, not too much. I saw a lot of names that I didn't recognise, but you do get some, obviously, are people that didn't make it in the UKLC, and in that case, they are people that, some of them you could say maybe they just they weren't on the right team in the UKLC, so it's good they've got another chance to show themselves, having obviously not made it to a team in summer. But then you kind of, a bit of you might, well, a part of me thinks it would be better if there's not too many players that have played in the UKLC, obviously because we want it to be for new talent. Well, I say I didn't make it, so that's what I want it to be, for new talent. And that's kind of the sentiment that we got when it first got out. So probably wouldn't make too much sense, I don't think, to have, for want of a better term, to have washed up players in there. But I didn't think I saw too much of that anyway. Most of it was new names that I saw, so should be good, should be worth a watch. So I think I'm going to end it here and go and actually do that, go and actually watch some of it. So hope you enjoyed listening. Not too much a long while again. Like I say, looking to get 1 or 2 guests on for the coming weeks, so I will be working on that behind the scenes. In the meantime, you can follow NineTeeSix on Twitter for more updates, not only on the podcast here, but for articles that I might be putting on the website and anything else NTS related. So be sure to follow on Twitter. It's at NineTeeSix. That's NineTeeSix. You can get more of me on Twitter as well, at NTS_Lee Jones. If you're listening on Spotify, you can also follow UK League Chat on there. And for anyone watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening.